pleasant afternoon to each and everyone, most especially to our TVL bread and pastry production learners. I understand that some maybe are enjoying taking their lunch for today. But I know that you, my dear BPP learners, are already tuned in our program. You're all excited for our class today. By the way, I am your teacher, Mrs. Sheryll S. Absin, at your service.
We will be exploring about how to prepare and produce pastry products. You are going to identify, select, measure, and weigh ingredients and its substitutions according to the recipe or production requirements, and establish standards and procedures. Perform baking techniques and appropriate conditions of pastry production, and show initiative and self-reliance in performing the task without supervision. In the following slides, you are going to identify each baked product as bread or pastry. Ready? In a clean sheet of paper, you're going to categorize and write whether baked product is bread or pastry. Again, you just have to write bread or pastry. Number 1, cookies. Again, cookies. Number 2, egg pie. Number 2, egg pie. Number 3, cream puff. Number 3, cream puff. Number 4, tart. Number 4, tart. Number 5, dinner roll. Number 5, dinner roll. Now, let us check. For number 1, cookies, the answer is bread. Number 2, egg pie, is pastry. Number 3, cream puff is pastry. Number 4, tart, pastry. And number 5, dinner roll is bread. Did you get it right? Good job! Before we proceed, please take time to read and understand the baking terminologies on page 64. Then, in a clean sheet of paper, answer the pre-assessment on page 65 to 67. Choose the best answer and write only the letter of your choice. We will be checking your answers after this break. Did you read the basic baking terminologies in pastry production? Okay, now let us check your pre-assessment. I'm going to dictate the correct answer. Number 1, letter D. Number 2, letter C. Number 3, letter C. Number 4, letter B. Number 5, letter B. Number 6, letter C. Number 7, letter A. Number 8, letter A. Number 9, letter D. Number 10, letter D. 11, A. 12, B. 13, C. Number 14, B. Number 15, A. 16, C. 17, B. 18, B. 19, A. And 20, D. Now, count the number of the correct answers. Write your score in the upper right portion of your paper. You did it! We will have a simple recall on measurement and substitution. Do you still remember how to do so? If not, please turn your module on pages 69 to 73. Read and understand the lesson information and answer the self-check 1.1 by giving the equivalent of the following measurement. Number 1. 1 tablespoon is equals to how many teaspoons? Number 2. 16 tablespoons is equals to how many cups? Number 3. 1/8 cup is equals to how many tablespoons? Number 4. 1/2 cup is equals to how many tablespoons? And number 5. 4 ounces is equals to how many tablespoons? Now let's check your work. Are you ready? Okay, for number 1, 1 tablespoon is equals to 3 teaspoons. Number 2, 16 tablespoons is equals to 1 cup. Number 3, 1/8 cup is equals to 2 tablespoons. Number 4, 1/2 cup is equals to 8 tablespoons. And number 5, 4 ounces is equals to 2 tablespoons. Did you get all 5 correct answers? Perfect! You're doing better. Keep it up! Pastry is a mixture of flour, liquid, and fat. It is a delicate baked product which consists of crust and filling. It has higher percentage of fat which contributes to the flaky or crumbly texture. A good pastry is light, airy, and fatty, but firm enough to support the weight of the filling. There are 2 types of pastries: the yeast race and the pie dough. Egg pie, cream puff, eclairs, croissants, French, Danish, and tarts are examples of pastries. Please read lesson information on page 73 to 77 for more details. These are the kinds of pastries. Number 1 is cream puffs, a type of light pastry that is filled with whipped cream or a sweetened cream filling and often topped with chocolate. Next is the puff pastry, a light, flaky, rich pastry made by rolling dough with butter and folding it to form layers. These are commonly used for tarts and Napoleon. The Danish pastry, a pastry made of sweetened yeast dough with toppings such as fruits, nuts, or cheese. The French pastries, a rich pastry filled with custard or fruits. The pie and the tart. These are the pastries that consist of 2 components. First is the pie dough. When baked, it forms a crust. Then the second one is the filling. The last but not the least are the croissants, a flaky raised dough which is sweetened cross between a simple yeast raised dough and a puff pastry. The dough is rolled with butter to create layers and it is then left to rise, creating a very light texture. The downside is that it is technically involved and requires a great deal of work. The basic ingredients for pastry making are flour, which is preferably the pastry flour or the all-purpose flour, the shortening, preferably the lard or the vegetable shortening, but you can also use butter or margarine, water, and salt. Choosing the appropriate ingredients can help lessen baking failures and mistakes. Also, the technique in mixing the ingredients well will greatly affect the outcome of your baking journey. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The Radyo Z-eskwela program of the Division of Davao de Oro is being brought to you by Nueda Builders Construction and Supply Incorporated, Maverick Builders Incorporated, Mitch Construction and Supply, Archicons Architectural Construction and Supply, DB Construction and Supply, Hanaway Builders Corporation, Phoenix Corvada Tagum Gasoline Station, Master Construction and Supplies, Mackenzie Builders, GP&H Construction Incorporated, Metro Gear Construction Corporation, NEN Builders and Development Services Corporation, Max Mays Enterprises Incorporated, We Inc. Construction Company, Rangay Construction and Supply, East Sussex Enterprise, WM Construction, Councilor Boogie and Miss Marjorie Vertodazo, Icon Builders and Supply, and Apex Mining Company Incorporated.
Here are some of the suggested techniques in making pies and pastries. Now let's proceed to the mixing techniques. These are the mixing techniques applied for pies and pastries. First is stirring. It is the mixing of all ingredients together, usually with a spoon in a circular motion. Next is beating. Introducing air into the mixture through mechanical agitation, as in beating eggs, or using an electric mixer. Whisking, also known as the whipping method, and is usually used for meringues and for chiffon products. Air is also incorporated into such food as whipping cream and egg whites through very vigorous mixing, usually with an electric mixer or a whisk. Rolling, to flatten the dough out into a sheet in preparation to shaping the various forms. Laminating, fat is repeatedly folded into the dough. Creaming, fat and sugar are beaten together until light, airy texture. Kneading, working with the dough using the heel of hands, accompanied by pressing, stretching, and folding in order to develop its gluten. Cut in or cutting in, cutting fat into smaller pieces using two knives or pastry blender to distribute fat in flour until it resembles into a coarse meal. Is there a particular technique to be used in each kind of pastry? If yes, can you cite an example? Write it in your journal. Since we are already done with the presentations on the mixing techniques in pastry production, as an evaluation, kindly answer the following questions. You just have to fill in the blanks. You will be given 10 seconds to answer every item. Ready? When the ingredients are moved vigorously in a back and forth, up and down, in a round motion until they are smooth is referred to blank. When the ingredients are moved vigorously in a back and forth, up and down, in a round motion until they are smooth is referred to blank. Number 2. Blank is a technique if the fat is repeatedly folded into the dough. Number 2. Blank is a technique if the fat is repeatedly folded into the dough. Number 3. It is all about mixing of fat in dry ingredients by bench scraper or a pastry blender until finely divided is called blank. Number 3. It is all about mixing of fat in dry ingredients by bench scraper or a pastry blender until finely divided is called blank. Number 4. Flattening the dough out into a sheet in preparation to shaping to various form is called blank. Number 4. Flattening the dough out into a sheet in preparation to shaping to various form is called blank. Number 5. Blank is known as whipping method and usually used for meringue and for chiffon products. And number 5. Blank is known as whipping method and usually used for meringue and for chiffon products. That's awesome! We are done answering the evaluation. Let us see if you got the answers right. Number 1. The answer is beating. Number 2. The answer is laminating. For item number 3, the answer is cutting in. Number 4, the answer is rolling. And for our last number, number 5, the answer is whisking. Kindly count the number of correct answers. For those who got the perfect score or one mistake, you are superb! For those who did not make it and got lower than 3, well, widen your study habit and try to go back where you did not get the right answer. As we continue, you're going to perform activity 2.1.1 on page 78. This is to enhance your skills in different techniques in pastry making and evaluate your performance honestly and sincerely. Use the rubrics on page 79. In doing so, check the appropriate box that corresponds to your level of performance in doing each of the following tasks. Now, I will be demonstrating how to make a squash tart. All you have to do is to jot down the ingredients and the mixing techniques I will be using. Ready? Okay, I'm done. Now, did you list the ingredients? How about the mixing techniques? Well, the ingredients are, for the crust, 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of butter or shortening, and 6 to 8 tablespoons of cold water. For the filling, 1 cup of squash, 1/2 cup of condensed milk, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Now, what were the mixing techniques that we used? Yes, number 1 of course is cutting in or cut in. Another, we also have the rolling of dough. And for the filling, we use the stirring technique. Did you get it all right? Very good! Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Radyo Z-eskwela Executive Committee, the Schools Division Superintendent, Eufemia T. Gamutin, CESO 5, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Romel R. Handayan, OIC Curriculum Implementation Division Chief, Karina S. Frasco, School Governance and Operations Division Chief, Dr. Ruben J. Riponte. Members: Cecilia Morales, Dr. Hilda A. Opeña, Dr. Arlene B. Lim, Dr. Eldecris B. Calzadora, Dr. Dexter A. Siquinia, Nohara O. Pinute, Noemi P. Canales, Dr. Grace D. Pontillas, Virgilito C. Pabrices, Juanito Lapiceros, Engineer Norberto S. Manlangi, Jomar M. Dumupoy, Bob Dalan S. Milabat, Medard T. Ampit, and Paz Eugenia Villusino. Technical Working Committee, Productions and Communications, Lorely E. Quijano, Given G. Hinampas, Judyland T. U, Donna D. T. Bolifer, Mary Rose N. Resma, Riwen Manuel, Irene Lea C. Manguhon, and Bessie Aya N. Banias. Social Media and Packaging Team, Christian Anhara L. Martesio, William R. Ranara, Joan T. Iscoton, Roberto S. Acusar Jr., May B. Istanyol, Richard H. Arellano, Clee L. S. Blanco, Ralph A. Tabanyag, Angelo Gutierrez Jr., and Jade Karen Araiz.
Now let us check if we hit our objectives for today. At the end of this episode, you will be able to learn how to letter A. Identify, select, measure, and weigh ingredients and its substitutions according to recipe or production requirements and establish standards and procedures. Letter B. Perform baking techniques and appropriate conditions of pastry production. And letter C. Show initiative and self-reliance in performing the task without supervision. Good job, everyone! Please don't forget to submit all your outputs during the scheduled retrieval and distribution of modules. I am very glad that you're with me until this hour. Thank you very much. Once again, this is Mrs. Sheryll S. Absin, leaving you a quote from Colin Powell: "A dream does not become a reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work." Till next time, goodbye!
Radyo Z-eskwela Executive Committee, the Schools Division Superintendent, Eufemia T. Gamutin, CESO 5, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Romel R. Handayan, OIC Curriculum Implementation Division Chief, Karina S. Frasco, School Governance and Operations Division Chief, Dr. Ruben J. Riponte. Members: Cecilia Morales, Dr. Hilda A. Opeña, Dr. Arlene B. Lim, Dr. Eldecris B. Calzadora, Dr. Dexter A. Siquinia, Nohara O. Pinute, Noemi P. Canales, Dr. Grace D. Pontillas, Virgilito C. Pabrices, Juanito Lapiceros, Engineer Norberto S. Manlangi, Jomar M. Dumupoy, Bob Dalan S. Milabat, Medard T. Ampit, and Paz Eugenia Villusino. Technical Working Committee, Productions and Communications, Lorely E. Quijano, Given G. Hinampas, Judyland T. U, Donna D. T. Bolifer, Mary Rose N. Resma, Riwen Manuel, Irene Lea C. Manguhon, and Bessie Aya N. Banias. Social Media and Packaging Team, Christian Anhara L. Martesio, William R. Ranara, Joan T. Iscoton, Roberto S. Acusari Jr., May B. Istanyol, Richard H. Arellano, Clee L. S. Blanco, Ralph A. Tabanyag, Angelo Gutierrez Jr., and Jade Karen Arais.